Free speech is a very important cog in the mechanism that is democracy. However, bearing that in mind, it's important also to notice that free speech can incite violence and cause a lot of hurt as well. So it's not without its consequences. For example, Alex Jones in the US, he used his free speech to say some pretty inflammatory stuff. But whether they were true or not, who knows? But his words did cause hurt, and the people whom he offended used that democracy to sue him, take legal action, and they won. The same with Alex Belfield. He used his freedom of speech to make his victims' lives a misery, and he paid for it, and is now languishing in prison for the next 2 years at least. Now, the difference between Alex Jones and Alex Belfield is that Alex Jones used his words on social media nearly exclusively, but Alex Belfield, he went slightly further. But relax, Alex Belfield fanatics, this video isn't about him. I am, of course, talking about Twitter, the now former left-wing echo chamber, where left-wingers, liberals, progressives, woke wizards and witches, they were allowed to talk about anything in any manner using any context. They incited violence, hatred, and encouraged murder against prominent right-wing figures, politicians, etc. Namely, of course, Boris Johnson, Nigel Farage, Tommy Robinson, Steve Bannon, Donald Trump, the God Emperor, peace be upon him. And even yours truly, I've been doxed on Twitter. But, of course, it's okay when the lefties do it. And the lefties got away with a lot of that shit on Twitter. Because the people who ran Twitter, from Jack Dorsey, who later left, to CEO Parag Agrawal, they are both left-wing extremists and very much the cancel culture fanatics who made Twitter a social media platform paradise for lefty extremists. Now, I was kicked off Twitter around 2-3 years ago, if I remember, because I dared to speak out against a group on there who were Peter O'Files. And there are groups like the one I encountered on there still operating on there. There are groups and individuals advocating for you-know-what with the most vulnerable people in our society. And they were allowed to do so without let or hindrance, account suspensions, cancellation or anything. And this, of course, angered people like myself who took them on, and we found ourselves, of course, being permanently kicked off Twitter, suspended, gone, cancelled. And so it delighted me no end yesterday when I found out that Elon Musk had finally gone through and bought Twitter for $40-odd billion. And of course, the lefties on there, they were crying into their lattes and having a right old moan. The same ones saying that they would leave if Elon Musk ever took control of Twitter, they're still on there. These are the same people who said that they would leave the United States if Trump became president, and they never did. Now, of course, they had to be kicked off because they're going to be campaigning for Twitter to be the safe space where only lefties can incite murder, violence, and all the rest of that bad shit. But the bad news for them is people like me are coming back on there. And people like me will be speaking out against them, pointing out their hypocrisy and having a jolly good laugh at these hysterical, wet nappy wearing, woke dipshits for my own pleasure. And there's nothing they can do about it now, which makes it even more delicious. Of course, you know as well as I do, to upset a lefty, all you have to do is point out the truth. You don't have to be nasty. You don't have to be threatening. You don't have to incite anything. The truth is enough to make these people go nuts and incriminate themselves. I just love making people dance to my own tune, and I'm very good at it. Now, Elon Musk took over Twitter. He walked in to Twitter HQ with a sink. And the metaphor was let that sink in. Elon Musk has just bought Twitter. And then he immediately fired the top-tier staff, the CEO, Parag Agrawal, and most important of all, Head of Legal Policy, Trust and Safety, Vijay Gadde. Now, Vijay Gadde was the person who personally suspended and gave a lifetime ban on Donald Trump from Twitter. And the sweetest bit about this is he had them both escorted out of the building. And I think that was a very poetic justifiable end to the careers of these two ghastly people who controlled what people were allowed to say, and they both got effectively cancelled, and it was just perfect. And it looks like he's going through with his promise of sacking thousands of Twitter staff, and I am happy. Now, these are hard times, all right? I don't take any pleasure on seeing people lose their jobs, their livelihood, because that pays for everything. These people could have families. However, I'm not shedding a teardrop towards these people in Twitter, because what they did was heinous. The way they ran that platform was disgusting, and that platform and the people who ran it became too powerful, and they had an undue influence, a sinister influence over politics in the United States, as well as Europe and Britain. But it's in the United States where they had their most influence, because Twitter and its staff, they actively stopped a story about Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, and his laptop. They suspended a US newspaper's account who were about to break the story, because that story came out during the election in 2020 when Biden won. And quite frankly, folks, if you think 81 million people voted for him, then I can't help you. And you seriously need to give your head a damn good wobble against a wall. Or better still, go and stand behind a horse in a field, wind it up, and just let it kick you in the head. But that's what Twitter did. It's a fact. They suppressed stories in order to get their man elected president of the United States. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's not me making shit up. It's true. And now, thankfully, Twitter will become a level playing field. Now, of course, I'm talking about Twitter because Twitter is one of the main social media platforms. It's where all the celebrities are, all the important people, footballers, sports stars, politicians, world leaders, etc. That's where they go. That's where they talk, and that's where everyone incriminates themselves. And I have always found Twitter quite entertaining. And even if you delete all your tweets and you think you've gotten off something scot-free, you haven't, because there are apps and programs out there which store and keep all your deleted tweets, so unlucky. So this Elon Musk takeover of Twitter, it's quite important, and it's a major victory against the lefties, against cancel culture, and against bias echo chamber discourse. And if I were you folks, if you were like me, suspended for a couple of years for saying something wrong that went against the grain, against the narrative, not in line with their warped liberal ideology, then it's worth making another account and sign up. It's fun. So go ahead, do it, and have your say. It is your God-given right. So there we go. That's my video. That's what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you do fancy following me on Twitter, I will be back on there now. Then look forward to the link. I'll put it in the community section of my channel, so you can all click on it, follow me. Obviously, I'll follow back, and we can have a laugh. And that's that. So until the next video, have a great weekend, look after yourselves, and Roger Trout.